Well, there we go. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the GTR show. Tips on selling your gear on Reverb in 2021. Why now? Because we're approaching Black Friday. This is a great time to sell your gear before all that madness ensues, and having some strategies around doing that is important. I am kind of surrounding myself with a bunch of new gear here as I go into a recording project, my next album, and in the process of buying gear, I'm having to let some stuff go, as much as that pains me. But I wanted to share some insights around having spent a bunch of time looking at Reverb and kind of looking at what I see really smart sellers doing, what I see really dumb sellers doing, trying to learn from what the smart people are doing, and also learning the mistakes of what the not as smart people are doing. The idea of also behind me, you can actually see kind of my little photo set that I like to set up. But before we get to all of that, I want to first of all start off by saying good morning. Great to see you. I hope you are having an amazing day, an amazing week, wherever it is that you are, and whatever it is that you've been doing. So first and foremost, I want to talk about, first of all, as it relates to you. So I'm kind of curious if anybody here has got some stuff that they're wanting to let go of. That's funny. I see Melissa on the thread there. She's like, all the stuff on my dining room table. So for those of us that cohabitate, the overflow of gear can become a domestic issue. So there is a certain amount of spousal responsibility one has in terms of terminating excess gear. So one of the things that I wanted to, again, do was really focus on if there's any stuff that you've got, kind of like, hey, here's how we would potentially go about strategizing doing that. But I also have a couple of examples of things that I've done. So first and foremost, hello, Shane. Always a pleasure to see you. I've got you coming in over there, and had to change things around a little bit at the last minute this morning because Meta has changed their interface just a little bit. So when you go to kind of a full screen mode so you can see the chat, the ability to control the volume has gone away. I'm just like, you guys should actually focus on your core business instead of making meat and potatoes. But we'll go in a different direction there. All right. So in any case, it is always a pleasure to be here. There is my chat window. Andy Guitar, good morning to you, sir. I hope you're doing great. Or actually, I should say good afternoon / good evening to you, sir. All right. Well, first of all, since there are, where are our cookies? Oh, my word. Greg, hey, and Bobby Valdez, hello. First of all, a couple of apologies. I get messages coming in through 3 different email addresses, 3 different Facebooks, and I'm not always able to keep up with everything, especially in the midst of a crazy week. Bobby, I owe you a message. All right, so here's the thing. This strategy around this whole Facebook thing, this whole, let's not talk about Facebook, Meet, or whatever it is. Sorry, Mark. This whole listing of stuff is really, 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 really important. The first and foremost thing I can say would be to have great photos. So let me jump over to here. Let me make sure I'm going to jump over to the right place. There we go. And of course, you're not doing what I want you to do. So let me move you over to here, and let me do this, and let me jump over to primary display. There we go. That's more of what I want. There we go. Let's get the DOP over here on the right-hand side. Okay, so this is a listing that I took live last night. And first and foremost, what I want to point out is as you're going to list stuff, hey, Corey Fraser, what's going on? Oh, thank you so much. Much appreciated. Thank you. All right. Well, I love the enthusiasm. So here's the thing, is photos. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to back up a step, and I'm going to kind of go, if you will, to the category for where my listing actually is. And this is kind of what I'm actually looking for, is as I'm kind of here at this, if you will, category level listing for my 65 Super Reverb reissue. I'm kind of in here kind of going, okay, which of these right away is of interest to me? All right, a couple of things that are important about amplifiers. As I'm in here looking at this, actually, let me just focus on this kind of like the first page here. And I realize that especially those of you that are on a mobile device, this is going to be really, really, really small. But this first photo is really important. Like photo number 2 here that I'm mousing over, it's like, what the heck is that? All right. This one, number 3, you can see scratches on it. It's important to display that stuff. Very simply, I want to create a photo that is going to be one of the first photos that people are going to click on. This is me right up here at the top, and so here is kind of my home photo. I wanted to give you the ability to see that the foot switch is there, that it's in nice, sweet condition. Let's zoom in on that puppy. Let me make sure that Ecamm Live, there we go, we're tracking that. Good. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is move a few windows around here, and I'm just going to scroll through the images, because here's the thing, is that we're really trying to tell a story to somebody that's going to potentially end up buying our piece of gear. And that story, for me, always starts with the images. So I'm going, okay, let's take a look at this thing. How's it look from the front? How's it look from the top? How's the cover look? Foot switch is nice and shiny. As you might imagine, I shined up and polished everything, such that as you go through these photos, I'm sorry, let me back up and strategically, right corner, left corner, back left corner, back right corner. The corners are what get dog-eared on this. The back of the enclosure, I want you to see those the original speakers. Reverb tank. Flipping nobody dust these puppies off. A little wet paper towel or something, and this thing looks like new. So the idea, and then the back panel, left side, center, and then right, and then we're back to that first foot switch there, then kind of down in terms of the way I've organized this. Bullets are always a great way to be able to have people see what it is that you're wanting to tell them. Key details, why am I selling, a little bit about the shipping, so you know it's going to ship in the original Fender box, and then why is this listing as described. Now here's the thing, I got burned by some little hustler on Reverb, and since then, yeah, there we go. Nope, there we go. Yeah, I need to be doing this. There we go. And since then, there we go. I basically sell as is, but I go out of my way to make great photos. I will put in there something to the effect of I'm easily found on social media. The bottom line is the first thing you want to start with is great photos. So if possible, getting something like you see behind me, that photo paper roll, so you can take really clean photos. You don't need anything other than one of these, as you probably know, to take great images. And ideally, when I shoot stuff, straight on, either turn the piece of gear, and I try and kind of mark on the X and Y axis. If I'm shooting an amp traditionally or a pedal, I do straight on, then kind of at, I guess, 45 degrees one way, 45 degrees the other. And I'm trying to show, obviously, all the different sizes. I realize that you have sold gear before, but having a strategy about how you do this, and most of this is what I learned from actually shooting the Orange catalog a decade and some change ago, where it's like, how do you actually display gear? So the idea of being able to light it well and be able to demonstrate that is key. Now, down below in Photoshop, I've got an example of, there are lots of applications like Photoshop that enable you to go in and touch up an image after the fact. So let me go over here and let me go, there we go. Oh, good. We're grabbing Photoshop. So this is, and let me zoom in on that puppy a little bit. This is a lovely $3,000 amplifier that looks like dog meat. There's a little bit of color correction that makes it, hang on, let me shift screens here just a little bit. There we go. So there's not dog meat. There's dog meat. So the interesting thing about this seller, and I just went in and did a little bit of color correction, where they placed this $3,000 amplifier, because I actually do kind of go, wow, Plexi Marshall in purple, that's of interest to me. But if the photo is just terrible, I kind of lose interest pretty quickly, and I don't want to lose interest quickly when it comes to spending something like $3,000 or plus on an amplifier. So with that said, being able to do whatever treatment you need to do after the fact is important. So again, great photos. Ideally, if you can find some place to hang some photo paper like that and shoot it like that, you get the maximum amount of contrast. It enables you to really just take a nice clean image. And it also shows that you have a level of care. Cleaning the stuff works really well. I have actually started using the Dunlop guitar polish, and I tried just a little test on a couple of different places. I went, you know what? That stuff works really well. On just a nice soft cloth, and just get everything nice and clean. And what's great about that is that, first of all, I take pretty good care of my stuff as it's sitting around in here, but it does accumulate dust. And ironically, most of the dust comes from filing my nails. So it's this particular type of dust that, after being down here for 10 plus years shooting, that's kind of, what's been introduced in the air. After we redid this room, we tried to vacuum as much of the stuff out of here. And so the point being is that it is, there's just dust, and you want to get that stuff off your gear when you go to list it. All right. Alan McDonald, good morning to you, my dear friend. Chris Alexander, hello. All right. All right. Dirty potato pick items I pass quick. At least try. And that's the thing, is like, there's that beautiful, if that's, how bad that amp looks on the outside, that Plexi Marshall, what does it look like on the inside? It's some poor amplifier that who knows what's happened to it. The whole thing about what's happening in the first moment with the photo, I'm actually trying to create a bond with the person that's actually going to be potentially buying this amplifier. Why? Because if back in the olden days before there was this thing called the internet, I remember Joe Satriani from time to time would go, hey, I'm selling stuff, do you want to buy it? It is a personal interaction. It's based on trust, right? There was the classified flea market. You would meet somebody. If you didn't like the person that was selling it, you immediately kind of went, and so that trust factor is really important to build up online. Most of the people I end up having some sort of online interaction with, we kind of become gear buddies for some micro moment in the universe, and that starts with building the bridge for trust. So if the gear looks like it's well cared for, then they're kind of going, okay, if the exterior looks good, I'm going to presume they took good care of it on the interior, and they didn't abuse it, and they didn't do silly things with it. Then in turn, the copy is really important to kind of make it really easy for them to absorb that material. If you're selling it as is, which honestly I would suggest doing, because what ended up happening was I had an electronic piece of gear. It was in perfect working order, and we're going to get to kind of some of the other preparatory steps that I believe in taking. It was in perfect working order. I sent it off to the guy. They said they got a blue screen when it booted up. And this also gets to one of the other things about shipping, which we're going to get to in a minute. So in olden days, actually I'll go there now so I don't forget it. I used to, if you think about the sum price, when you go to sell, Reverb, charges you on the whole amount of the selling price. They do not charge you on the shipping. Free shipping, what you basically have done is moved the shipping amount, which Reverb doesn't charge you their 7% on, into the part that they do. So now all of a sudden you've taken whatever the shipping is, and now you've given Reverb 7% of that. It seemed like a really good idea at the time, but at the end of the day, and it is kind of cute to go free shipping, people ultimately look at how much are they going to pay all in for the piece of gear. So I moved away from the free shipping thing because I got tired of paying Reverb a percentage on that. That's kind of as of the most recent listings. We'll see how that goes. But the idea is that I've got a scale. I weigh everything, we take the measurements, we find out how much it's going to be, we pad it very slightly by like 10%, because sometimes by the time you go to box everything, it's just a little bit more than it was. So very slightly, not for profit, just for safety margin, and then it goes out. And the idea, we'll come to the pricing bit of this in a minute, but the point being is that I've now separated my shipping, but I'm not one of those guys that does shipping for profit. All right. Let's see here. Looks like Doug is a Marshall dealer. That is pretty funny. There are many Marshall amplifiers around here, and we're going to come back to some of that in a moment. It's always strange to see yourself time delayed on another screen. That's all I'll say there. Yeah. All right. Here we go. So here's the thing: is that as we're going through the strategy about listing things. We're going to kind of deconstruct what it is that I've been doing. So, all right, one, you want to build this trust factor. Photos are there. The copy is there. Sorry, I was telling the story about the deadbeat guy. Thank you. And then I went down into the shipping thing. I knew that was going to happen. So the idea is that with the deadbeat shipper, I sent him this piece of gear, free shipping. They get it. They lie and say it blue screens. I figure I'm going to do the right thing. I'm going to cover the shipping back. Comes back, it works fine. I relist it, the new person buys it, totally happy. The first person was a liar and a cheat, and it cost me shipping both ways. And they knew that I was covering the shipping on the way back, and they went like, up yours, Doug Doppler. And I was like, you know what? Thank you, you're a piece of turd, And unfortunately, everybody else that I ever deal with, I'm never going to put myself in a position again where Mr. Poopy Turd or somebody like that can do that to me again, which is really kind of bunk, but that's reality. Okay. All right. What's going on, Ben Tom? Hey, Ben, my Reverb channel is Doppler's Gear Garage. Hey. So all right, so let's see here. I have got multiple windows open, so let me get over to where I want to be, and let's get over to here, Ski. All right, so let's talk about kind of some of the key strategies. Let me just make sure I've covered everything I want to talk about at the listing level, because there are a couple of other things that we want to be aware of. Let me jump back to, where is this? There we go. All right, so again, first and foremost, let's get here. I'm going primary. There we go. All right, so we want to make sure our photo, like the second image is like, what the heck is that? Now, interestingly enough, and actually I want to talk about this page because this is really important. So kind of I drilled down to the category page for what I'm going to do. So before you even start listing, this is where the market research starts. And this is where most of the people that are on this channel are super smart. So I'm going to presume you know most or all of this, but just for the sake of conversation, you have a couple of things. First of all, at the category, if there's enough listings for a particular item at the category level, you can, you have the ability to go down to the bottom of the page and see the graph. And most importantly for me, look at this. Now, what am I looking for on this transaction history? I'm looking for how many of these have moved in the past month. That tells me that there's actually a lot of inventory going through here, which means that if I so desired, I could probably price my item a little bit higher than I might otherwise. So with that said, you want to have a couple of goals in mind. When I list, I generally sell every piece of gear that I list within the first 2 to 4 days. And part of that is the day of the week that I list on. So first of all, I look at what comps are going for. I look at the condition over here in this middle column, and I also look for how quickly an item is turning over. Obviously, for something that's got a lot of turnover, which, given the price point here, there's obviously a lot of demand for these amps. The other thing is when you're dealing with an amplifier, local pickup only, local pickup only, local pickup only, $360 shipping, $200 shipping. My shipping, $100. And we did the math. It came to $88, and I left myself just a little bit of room just in case we get down to the shipping place. But these are all local pickup only. And so by the time we're all said and done, and here's the thing, is the closest listing with shipping to mine dollar-wise is $1,200. I listed mine as $1,175, such that guess who comes up at the top of the list? Mine. So as you come here, look at that nice clean photo. And then this is my competition. This is the person that I'm looking at, number 2 here. Now, as you get in here, you're like, oh my word, that's just like the worst photo. And, so don't shoot it where you've got this light blowing this out. Now, interestingly enough, and again, I went through this in preparation for this. This person amp is in every bit as good a condition as mine is, but their photos are terrible. Which one would I buy? I'd buy mine. So then I go through each one of these and just kind of see what they've got to offer, because I also want to see when the others, for example, who are my direct competition, people that actually are shipping. So when I'm looking at $1,175 plus $100 shipping, $1,200 plus $200 shipping, that's $1,400. I'm $1,275. I'm already a better deal. I've got better photos. $1,050 plus $360 shipping. I'll check that out. So you gave me all of one photo. And it looks like there's a little hole in the grill there down on the front. Look, baby one. You can also see there's dust on top of that puppy. So am I going to buy? I'm going to buy Dopplers. So the point being is that I want to make sure that, again, before I go to list, I want to see the regularity of sales. I want to see kind of the average listing price and the condition and try and figure out where mine sits. The other thing that I will do is I will spend a couple of weeks watching as inventory goes up and goes down. And I'll also do that in combination with the transaction history, because that allows me to kind of know when the best time to list my amp is going to be. So here's the interesting thing about my amplifier. Let's see, it should show this. And so if you take a look at the number of views, and there's my bump views, and I do bump, in this case, by 2.5%. But my kind of, if you will, my organic views to watchers, I have a little bit over a 10% watcher view. Those, and I think we all know watchers, I will often bookmark gear by watching it so I can come back and do it. I'm not interested always in buying it. In fact, most of the time I'm not, but I'm looking at it in terms of comps and all of that. So I know a bunch of these people here are looky-loos, but one of those people is potentially the one that's going to go, you know what? I need to talk with the wife. I'm going to buy this thing. So I gave them lots of reasons to go yes, yes, and yes. It's really clear. I also mentioned that they're the original speakers. It's super crisp. You can find, here's the other thing is like, what are the things that I would want to know? I want to know, is it in good condition? Well, the photos are going to tell you that. How do the corners look? Oh, and does it have the original cover? Yeah, it does. And it's in great condition. Corners look good. That means it's been, if they took it out of their smoke-free studio, which if it is a smoke-free studio that you've had it in as an important thing to list. And how's the back look? Nice and clean. Holy cow, this person takes care of their gear. Maybe they cleaned it up for the listing, but you know what? At least clean matters to them. That says a lot to somebody there. The other thing is my shop, 100% positive, 46 transactions. Doppler's Gear Garage, imagine that name. And so, that's kind of the moral of that story. But to have that percentage there of 10% of watchers or views organically, and that's separate from the bumps, that's really, really a high metric. And that, and that comes down to one of the most important strategies that I've got. There we go. I try to list either Friday night or Saturday morning. Why is that? Well, let me go to this little thing right here, ski. There we go. So another thing that I've got listed is my little PRS S2 Starla. Now, here's the thing is I kind of did a couple of things to test this out. So let's go over to, there we go. So we are just in the main PRS page here. By the time, and I listed this maybe Thursday or Wednesday, by the time Saturday rolls around, I am now on the flippin' 4th page of this thing. Wait, where am I? And again, there are a couple of things that I try and do, there we go, to make my photo stand out. Now, here's the thing, with all these beautiful PRS guitars, it's all about the flame. So I'm like, hey, there's the cute gig bag in great condition, and there's kind of a cool little photo of this thing. But I'm all the way over, and you can kind of navigate right there, page 4. So, later today, it's going to, if I refresh, I probably will now be on page 5 with all the stuff that got listed this morning. Let's see if that, no, I'm kind of cruising down page 4 where I was a couple rows up, but by the end of the day, I'm going to be on page 5. So it means that basically, if you do a PRS search and you scroll through all this business and you sort it by most recent first, I'm way the heck down there. And so I want to make sure that come Saturday morning, if you do a search, you're going to see that pretty early on if you choose to either search by most recent first. Now, one of the other things is, let's see how I did this over here. And I think, there we go. So if you search Paul Reed Smith S2 Starla, the other thing is you also want to make sure that you're taking care of the good search material. And this is where a bump also helps. So one of these is my actual native listing. The other is the bump. So there I am in the top row. So that boom, you're at my listing. I want people to get to me. And again, look at this metric. This is a much lower metric for this instrument. People aren't nearly as interested in it. But again, here's kind of what I'm trying to tell the story. Oh, and this, by the way, is another thing. Somebody asked what the name of my channel, my store was. When you get in and take a look at my listings, and this is all I've got right now, you all of a sudden see that there's integrity between the listings. You see that I've got a nice score there. And getting back to this guy, you begin to see, okay, this is a person that takes care of their gear, because you go through this. And in olden days, I would actually Photoshop out the background so you don't kind of see the yellowness in the background, because I do have some slightly different light sources where I'm shooting in here, because I have some overhead fluorescence that I just leave on. And it's not perfect, but the thing is that it gives you the ability to do this. So again, kind of what I like to do is I like to have some sort of glory photo. So you're kind of like, oh, that makes me want to click. Okay, I know the gig bag's in great condition. That seems really strange to have the gig bag more prominent than the guitar. But this whole picture says this stuff is in really good condition. Then kind of there's the, ooh, that's cool. Look at that. Nice and shiny. Nice and shiny. There's a nice top-down photo. Another shot of this thing. headstock, back of the headstock. And again, this is akin to the left corner, right corner business, back of the guitar. Now, here's one of the strange things about this guitar is the back is really clean, but there are some surface scratches that you kind of have to stick in some strange light. So I had to be able to demonstrate that so that somebody who ended up buying the guitar didn't go, what the heck is this? And you really have to go out of your way to demonstrate this. And for those of us that have listed a lot of stuff, the same starts to go true of little bumps like that. So having a finger in there allows somebody to see the scale of a bump, and you can tell that those are the lights, but it's just a little baby bump there. And then you can see that it's kind of like it's really hard to see. Now here is one on the neck, and I probably should have reversed those photos. Should start with the finger first so you know, like, oh, okay, that's it. But you can tell that's the back of the neck because you can see the fingerboard there. There's scale, and it's just showing that thing is really hard to see, but it's letting people know that you kind of went out of your way to demonstrate it, so they kind of go, okay. And again, this is giving them the information that I want to know. Okay. Robert, that is a flippin' great question. Hang on a second. That is a great question. And that is a question that I do not know the answer of, but boom. So the short version is I ended up at somebody's shop page and I followed them as a search result. So let me see, and I'm not going to do it in this window. Let's see what happens. Doppler's Gear Garage. Do I come up if I do a search? Probably not. No. That is a great question. I absolutely have no idea. That is a brilliant question. The short answer is there's a guy in Los Angeles. I've got these. Well, you can't see him, but one of the other things I've done is I bought a couple Randall half stacks. And the Jaguar speakers, one of the cabinets, it was $100 for the cabinet. One of the speakers got a hole in it. One of the other cabinets that I bought for like $100 or $125 didn't have the speakers in it. So I've been kind of looking for the Jaguar speakers. The other thing is I've got an Ampeg V4, and then there's the V2 tall cabinet over there. And I'm gently looking at some of the other speaker options. And one of the big things that I'm going to be doing personally is basically taking all these amps, capturing them and offering them as Kemper profiles and on the Quad Cortex. Once that whole marketplace is in the marketplace piece of theirs is in place. That is a great question, Robert. And so the short version of that is that I went in. Let me see if I can easily get to this and find this. Let's go in here. Give me just a moment. My dashboard. And let's see how it's following this. Give me just a moment. There we go. On my watch list. And so the short version. Okay, so this is actually really good. So let me get over to here. There we go. So you'll see that I'm actually watching a bunch of these other Super Reavers. Why am I doing this? These are specific ones that were kind of competition, if you will, to me. I want to see if they sold. And so I want to see if they're active or not. This right here, this Altec Lansing, is from that shop in Los Angeles. And somewhere in here, this is the other thing, is I can see what stuff is ended. There we go. And what stuff is live. So that kind of allows me to track. And this is kind of like, the guy's looking at a lot of gear. But the thing is, it allows me to kind of see, what's active and what's actually sold. It gives me a chance to kind of keep my thumb, if you will, on the pulse of things that are going on. And that's super, super, super important. Okay, so as far as these guys go, this guy, I saved... This guy, what's interesting is that it ended up going down here. I saved the search result in. Hang on, let me go here. Let me show you this. Okay, let's just say you end up at somebody's shop that you like, and we're going to go over to Jammin, Jersey, And this, by the way, this guy has a great collection of vintage speakers. I don't know where this guy finds stuff. So this guy is a guy that I'm interested in. So what you can do, where is that little puppy here? Oh, you can add them to your feed. Thank you. That's different. So that feed comes through, and depending on your preferences, you can get email updates. But this guy has stuff that I'm interested in knowing about. Okay. Thank you. So yeah, the store side of things, and I guess the short version is, why isn't it better on Reverb? Because Reverb makes more money when you're tracking a product and not a particular reseller, which is kind of, I don't know, it's business. All right. Let me check in over on this side here, and because this side does not stream comments, Melissa just messaged me on something. She may be messaging. Okay, hang on. Wait. There you go. There. Thank you, Melissa. Look at you. She's awesome. Thanks, Mel, helping me buy more gear. She's like, maybe this isn't quite how I wanted this to work. Okay, hang on a second. So let me, we're over here. That is that guy. Okay, let me switch over here. That's this one. We're going to switch feeds. We're going to go to this guy right here. Okay. There we go. All right. Give me just a moment. There we go. Everybody's having such a good time with their Thanksgiving. I mean, they're, now this is where I have to mute the speaker. So for whatever reason, when I go so I can actually see all the chat, then there we go. All right. Oh, okay, good. That's strange. Does that mean that really nobody has commented there? Okay, good. All right. So first of all, that covers, if you will, the main important thing. So again, I do some market research. I take a look at what the comps are selling for. I watch for the right interval. If I see there's a bunch of listings that are right at the price point that I'm going to be selling, I don't list then. It's a bad time to list. I list either on Friday night or Saturday morning such that I get the maximum amount of traffic around my listing. And generally speaking, so the old strategy of incorporating free shipping, it's a nice little headline to have in there, and it makes it stand out such that the copy is important. And again, the copy also making it such that when somebody kind of does some level of search, it goes through the Reverb process of drilling down, like you saw for the S2 Starla, you're able to see your instrument come up pretty quickly on those results, because the idea is there's so much traffic on Reverb. You know, I don't know about you, but I know there are two types of transactions that I do on Reverb. One, when I'm really looking for something, which means I then, those comps and you know, where I am in the cycle of that, all of those things really matter. And then there's the person that's kind of on Reverb and they're like, I don't know, the government sent me my tax refund, or, you know, I want to buy something. I don't know, you know, or it's not that I want to buy something. It's just that like I'm just kind of casually looking on Reverb, and if there's something that kind of I'm attracted to, I might buy that. So you want to make sure that it's easy for people to find in those instances. All right, let's see. Chris, we will see you a little bit later, my friend. I hate to see you go as well. Okay, good. Okay. Well, with that said, we don't have a ton of questions here, which I guess is either indicative of the fact that nobody cares about selling on Reverb, which I don't believe is the case, or we've covered the majority of meat and potatoes. Again, the photo thing, you know, what I've done is I've set this location up, and it's really easy to do. You know, just some photo paper, just setting it up such that you have a good light source that you can light the stuff up with. And then being able to take stuff, if you're able to kind of have the original boxes, like you see, that's why I'm kind of leaning over here there, the original boxes, and kind of take what that money shot is. You know, this is one of the things is that I try and keep the original boxes and the packing material And that and quite often, to just save space, the boxes will get broken down. The packing material will get put into a bag. I'm a bit of a label fanatic, as some of you know. So you can label things or just put some painter's tape and write on it with a Sharpie. So you're able to kind of reassemble all that stuff. That, for the end user who's going to potentially end up buying your gear, it's really nice to have the box. And I got to tell you, there's another really practical reason, depending on how you're going to box this stuff. When it's time to go flipping ship it, that's the time that you really kind of go, I kind of wish I'd kept that box. So that's kind of my take on that. Oh, whoever shared that, thank you so much. Oh, hang on a second. How am I on? There we go. Hang on a second. There we go. I see. Hang on a second. What a moron. There we go. Let's try that now. And that's where that guy... All right, now I can get to that. All right, good. Sorry, Tom, I see you now. Boom. That's a great question. So Tom's question, and let me see if I can cut and paste that and bring that in here. So that's actually a really important thing. So let's oh, I can't all right, let me say Tom's question again. How do you play it when there is marginal shipping damage, but the seller is balking at covering that? Let's separate that out. First of all, having been on the selling side of when there's a transactional problem, my rating on Reverb, having people be able to go in and see 100% rating is important to me. And I have enough transactions where at 100% people kind of go, okay, he's legit, especially when I'm going, look, I'm selling stuff as is, and this is why. Tom, hey, Mike, what's going on? How you doing? Good to see you. Is that Jer? Hang on a second. Yeah, it's Jer, right? Oh, no, different Mike. Hey, what's going on? Good to see you. Hang on a second. Going back. Hello. All right. There you go. You have to dictate how an item is going to be packed before you buy. So let's, dare I say, unpack all of that. First of all, Mike, thanks for jumping in. Hello. Great to see you. Okay. Backing up a step. Going to my listing. This is, okay, so pause button. Bands, musicians, drama. The best way to avoid drama is to try and see it coming and then figure out how to handle it in a good way. One of my favorite things about watching that tattoo show that homeboy from Red Hot Chili Peppers does is he always talked, when he sees the tattoo artist kind of starting to go sideways, he talks to him like a band. And so what the great thing is that you can watch the leadership skills come into that. So you kind of have to go, I'm herding cats in the midst of this. How do I get ahead of this? So let me just take a moment and go back to this Fender listing, or sorry, the amp listing. Give me a moment. There we go. Because this is a really, really important topic. And thank you for that feedback / input there, because this is super important. So in the listing here, shipping, priced reasonably and will ship safely in a Fender box. So I'm letting them know, I'm like, hey, right now here's the slightly awkward part that I started to put in the listing. I thought, this is only going to open Pandora's box. Between you and I've got a Tone Master Super Reverb here that, you know what, for all intents and purposes, I'm every bit as happy with that as I am with the tube version. And so I'm getting rid of the tube version. I'm just kind of like, I'm not using it. I love the Tone Master Super Reverb because it's got the direct out. You can use your own IRs with it. It weighs a quarter amount of the other one. The Fender folks kindly cautioned me not to make YouTube videos kind of comparing and contrasting which one, but I can say in my live stream here, my personal preference, I love this Tone Master. I think it's every bit as good as the tube one. The tube one's on its way out the door. So I'm going to ship it in the box that came with the Tone Master. But I didn't want to say it's coming in a Tone Master box because all of a sudden you open this other question. So when I go to sell this, I'm going to say, hey, look, it's coming in a Fender box, but just so when you open it up, note that it's a Tone Master box. So the point being is that I know that the Tone Master got here just fine in its box, which means that I know when I ship that thing out the door, I have confidence because I tape every possible, dare I say, orifice on that box. I'm the tape fanatic. I tape the top. I tape the sides on the top. I tape the bottom. I tape the sides on the bottom because I want to make sure anything that FedEx can throw at this thing, or UPS or USPS, they can do to that thing. I know it's going to withstand it. I've got the original corners, saving all that stuff. If it got to me okay, it's going to get to you okay. So yes, absolutely, Mike, you could not be any more correct, is that the management of that process starts at the very beginning, and that's when you list it. Just go, this is how it's coming to you. This is what it's going to be, which for me as a buyer gives me security around the fact that I'm going to be getting this thing. It's going to be coming in condition where the person expected to come such a way. Mel, can you do me a favor? If you get a moment, can you bring me that that manila envelope that's on the kitchen table underneath the guitar? Pretty please. So this is a classic thing. So Tom, to answer your question. Now, so I got on the upside down side of this transaction with this guy. I shipped it in the original box. Arrived in perfect condition. They said it blue screened. I believed them. I did not, in retrospect, say, can you do me a favor and take a photo of that and send it to me? That I should have done, because they wouldn't have been able to do it, because they were a liar. So I paid to have it shipped to them and back, original box, perfect condition. I plug it in, it's fine. I'm like, oh, they're a liar. So the dispute side of Reverb, there was one of my guitar camp buddies had gone through some drama. Okay. Now this is on the listing side, but we're kind of at kind of unpacking this. Oh, yeah, no. So, here's the thing. All right, good. Natural course of conversation. I'm all in. Thank you, love. Very cute jammies, by the way. So, I bought a guitar, and a buddy of mine has a guitar. And I kind of found some old ads for my guitar, and because the buddy's been a buddy, I bought one for them. And so, this envelope, this jackass... They send me the ads. I can already see that this thing's bent. There you go, right there. So it's already got a bent corner. I know I'm going to open this thing up. It's going to have a bend in both of the kind of. They take some old magazine, they with an X-Acto, they pull the pages out, and I'm like, seriously, you douchebag. The last one of these was for the where's the Hendrix amp? It's upstairs. So the JH100 reissue. So I bought a poster, and this guy just kind of like, they stuck it in this box, which is great, except for the fact that they crinkled the poster because of the way they wrapped the rubber band around it. So it's got these white marks on it. I'm like, okay, I get it. The guys that sell these posters and sell these little things on here are douchebags. I'm sorry. It's a little extreme, but I'm 0 for 2, and I'm flipping pissed because I'm like, okay, well, I wasted my time and my money. It wasn't that much money, but ironically, this guy's in my inbox this morning saying, hey, I can't get paid until you give me my feedback on this thing. And I'm like, oh, I have some feedback for you, Jim. But I'm pissed, because part of this was for me, but part of it's a gift for a buddy. I can tell by the crease on this. I'm going to open it up. It's not only bent, it's going to have a white mark on there, which means I can't frame it. And you wasted my time. That pisses me off, in case you didn't notice. So the point being is that, yeah, I know exactly about that. And so the last time with the Hendrix poster, which is super rare, they just they kind of don't exist. It was a promo poster for the amp. I was like, dude. And, I could tell it was a guy that had a store that had some numbnuts that got fired by Guitar Center. Did I say that? Who was packing these things and just kind of went, I don't know, stick a rubber band around it, stick it in the box. I'm like, I was pissed because I paid $20 for the flipping poster because I'm like, I want it. I want to frame it. And it's now got all these white marks and it's creased. I'm like, dude, it's like you're selling it, like you need to ship it. So, yeah. So the deal is people get instantly pissed. They've taken the time to shop. They've walked it by the chairwoman or whoever of the board. They have actually purchased it, and then they've waited for it to arrive. And then it arrives, and it arrives like this. You're like, oh, you're a douchebag. And at that point, they're pissed. So, Tom, you're basically like, you're a douchebag. I'm pissed. And honestly, that emotion is really, really, look at me in my childish state. Totally understandable. But I have to push the pause button. Use my little sound brenner here as my... Boy, are you magnetic. Holy cow. We'll push the button here. Just kind of go, all right, let's take the emotion out of this. How do I win, right? So I got to figure out how I'm going to respond to this guy and just go, really? Just like, and the other thing that I did is I took photos of it before I opened this thing up, so I photographed it in such a way I started taking photos of the front and then the back so that chronologically they're in order in my phone and digitally so they can see that, like, okay, and they'll have a timestamp so you can tell I haven't opened it up and it was bent when I got it. And what kind of moron bends it, just on a thing. The point being is that a guy that somehow I knew, I know who it was. It's ironically a guy. This is my point. Is these are relationships, and this is the thing for any of us who actually play music. You're gonna put out a CD or digital download or whatever the heck it is. It's a small world out there, and if one day you're touring through somebody's town and somebody comes up and like, you debagged me on a sale, it gets awkward really quickly, and people take this stuff kind of personally because it's their gear. So the point being, this person is a guy that I met who is selling something on Craigslist, and he also does some live streaming. He's a lovely guy. He's actually the guy that hooked me up with the Mark II-C. Plus, the impossible to find amplifier, he found it for me, and he's become a buddy. But he bought something from the former Soviet Union, and they had this scam going where they would issue the label and they kind of bring it down to the shipping warehouse and then not ship it. So they managed to get paid, but never actually shipped it. Just kind of a whole drama. And Reverb basically was just like, yeah, cool. And so my buddy did a video about it, and he was pissed. I need to circle back and find out if he ever got his money back. But basically, he was trying to get his money back, and Reverb was saying, "Oh, you have to deal with the seller." So, to answer your question, Tom, sometimes Reverb will leave you hanging out to dry. So the person's feedback is the way to go, because ultimately you want to make a choice on. And do you mind? Okay, hang on. So Tom. So are you asking figuratively? So let's okay. So figuratively, I've got to message this guy and just say I haven't even opened it, but I can tell it's bent. What do you want me to do? You want me to just send it back to you and you just refund it to me? What do you want to do about the shipping? Because literally, the last one of these I bought was $20. These were like $4 a piece. Ironically, I'm going to ship to a guitar buddy of mine, Brian at Worship Tutorials, because he has his PRS McCarty model, and I saw the ad when I bought the one for this double cut Les Paul that I've got, and I was like, I'm going to buy this for my buddy. I like him. I'm going to send it to him. He's going to appreciate that, and he's not expecting it, and that's always nice to do. And I don't know, he's going to frame it or something, but it's the thought that counts. But the point being, I'm like, well, what do you want to do about this? And so the thing is that for anybody that sells regularly on Reverb, the kiss of death is to kind of go, it came bent and unusable. Most of the time, the seller, it's in their best interest to make it right. So if there's a problem, let's agree on an amount that, to either fix this or whatever. And so let's talk about me being a douchebag here. I bought a quad of Jaguar speakers. Hang on. Give me just a moment. Two of which, and this is actually pretty clever to do it like this. And speakers are really tricky to ship. You need to ship them in multiple boxes. But this guy did this very clever thing. He kind of used zip ties to zip tie two of them together, which I thought was very clever. I'd never seen that done before, and it was great. I think he forgot to zip tie the other two speakers together, and one of them had gone through the paper on the other one. But, you know, I didn't just open them up and check them when they came. Douchebag. And so a month and a half later, I open up the box. I'm like, oh, you know, and they had done kind of the first two had been packed so well that the fact that they were kind of loosey-goosey inside the box wasn't really a problem. And from the exterior, the box looked like it was okay. But basically, they must have dropped it somewhere in shipping, and they came loose, and then in the midst of that, because I never found the zip ties for the other two. I think they just forgot to zip tie the second two speakers together, which is too bad, because the first two I pulled them out, I'm like, that's genius. And I pulled out the other two, and I was like, oh, it's gone through the speaker paper. And then I'm like, that's on me. I waited too long. I mean, you know, it's just like, reasonably, I should have messaged them right away. It's on me. But that, the point being is that had I opened it up right away, I would have photographed it. I would have messaged and saying, what do we do here? And they probably would have refunded me the price of the one speaker, which I'm going to then kind of get reconed or something. I don't know. But that's totally on me. All right. So Tom, that story is kind of similar. And I've had stuff show up just like, like literally like a 5-year-old taped it together, and you're like, it's kind of, you're really kind of like, seriously? So this is, but usually that, okay. So again, we're to the open conversation here, and the reality is that this is where, when I look at a photo like, oh, okay, hang on. When I look at a photo like, oh, come on, move. When I see, instead of something like this, I see something like that, I kind of go, you know what? I probably don't want to go there. Now, here's the real danger. First of all, one of the things, and let's flip this around, because I think we've covered most of the seller stuff. And feel free to jump in if you have any other questions. But I think that was really, Mike, I think that's really, really, really great. It's like, and again, I want to get ahead of the curve. This is how it's going to be packed. This is what you can expect. So the other reason it's great to have the boxes in there. Now, this is one of the things about having a scale that we've got, and then also taking the measurements, all of that. I want to know what my shipping is going to, before I kind of even start doing the listing, because I kind of want to have an idea of what that transaction, I have a target amount that I want to get by the time I'm done listing it. That's we're looking at comps and seeing how many are on the market right now, and then looking at the way the market's going up and down, and trying to come in at a time where somebody who wants something, there's less stuff to compete with. I mean, it's basic sense, and sometimes we just need to flip it, right? I get that. Which again is looking at the comps, looking at the regularity of that, and kind of going, where do I need to price this? I've got an SG that needs to go, and it's an SG special faded. And it's like, this is the other thing, is sometimes getting on there and just kind of going, there's 5 different subdivisions that guitar could fall under. What is the most accurate search query and heading listing for that one? It turns out it is SG special faded, I think is what it is, because I was researching. I didn't have time to shoot the listing for that and have this here today. I did miss one thing. Thoroughly, and this gets into both of your questions. Before it ever goes into that box, we want to make sure that when they unpack it on the other end, there is no drama. So yes, we wanted to pack it great, but the piece of gear, if it's a guitar, I'm testing all the pickup selection. I want to make sure that there's no happening in the pot. This is one of the things that drives the deoxit, right? I actually don't have deoxit, but Gary Brower sprayed some on my guitars. I will be getting some right away. The ability to just get in and make sure if there's a noisy pot, fix it before you list it. So the idea of testing all the different positions, literally going up and down every string at every fret, is there a bad fret or anything going on? Knowing before you list, because what you don't want to do at the sake of your reputation, put an instrument out there that you didn't do your due diligence and test to, one, protect yourself, but two, for the trust factor in the transaction. Because when you get something, you're like, they either didn't test it or they knew. Because unfortunately, in this day and age, people are just going to presume you're a liar and a cheat before they're going to go, oh, they must not have tested it. So that pair of speakers here, I pulled one of my monitors down and I just plugged them in and made sure that they worked. All the switches worked. There's no drama, and so, I can say, tested, they work fine. And that, again, you're seeing that they're shot really well. The copy is really clear. It's got bullets. It's going to ship in the original boxes. Those, in turn, will be in an encapsulating box. Those actually, I think, came to me like that. But the thing is that I'm 99.9% positive that I'm not going to ship those in two separate boxes. And I also think it'll probably be a little bit cheaper to put them in one encapsulating box. But the point being is that the idea of protecting myself such that I know that they've been tested before they're going out the door. And also with the guy that blue screened me, it also means that they're not going to be as inclined to pull that hanky panky. So, all right, here we go. And Mike, because of where this feed is and the way I brought it in on this computer, hang on, let me see if I can do this. Hang on. All right, Facebook. I tell you, let me just read it. Mike, that's great feedback. Oh no! Hang on a second. I didn't read all of that in detail. Tom's comment. My favorite nightmare shipping arrival. Dude duct taped the case, slapped a label on it, and shipped it like that. Okay. And I'm gonna get to your comment in a sec, Mike. So I've got a guitar that is actually it was and you may have seen it here before, and you'll see it here again. It is a Sunburst Ibanez Destroyer, like Eddie used on Van Halen 1, right? Before he cut it up and kind of stuck the little in it. It's a great guitar. I can neither confirm nor deny that it is or is not an original stock Sunburst finish. And I kind of went to one of my guys that has been with Ibanez for like 30, 40, 50 years. 40? 30? 40. I've been with Ibanez for 25, so 40 years. And they're like, I don't know. And so most of the early Destroyers, the real Gibson knockoff ones, are Carina. Or actually Sen, their take on kind of what it looked like. This one, the Sunburst, was really, really well done. It seems like an awful lot of money to spend on that guitar. But when it got shipped to me, there's a crack at right at the edge of the neck's got this little crack at where it meets the body. And it's a set neck, so I took it to my guy, Gary Brower, and I said, what's the danger of this? And he said, it looks like it's pretty stable. I messaged the seller. This was an eBay thing. And I was just like, dude, And so this is one of the important things. And this gets in. And Mike, I'm going to come to your comment again in just a moment. Your average guitar case, especially with something with some sort of pointy headstock or back set headstock, is frequently incapable of properly protecting that instrument if it gets dropped headstock down. And especially in something like an Explorer, if there's enough room for that thing to move around in the case and the headstock has direct contact or can slide and have direct contact with the end of the case, it's a volatile situation for that neck. Because the UPS guys, most of them are actually pretty good. But the thing is it's at some warehouse. The delivery guys have to be good, because if stuff keeps showing up broken on their routes, they'll see a spike in that, and it's a problem. But at the warehouse, kind of anything goes. It's a guitar, And, I watched guys catapulting stuff outside the window one day on an airplane. I'm like, for them, it's like, hey, how high can we throw your guitar? It's like, the guitar pult. It's like, okay. The point being that you want to make sure that inside that case, if it can float this way, you put some sort of padding such that it can't float that way, some sort of bubble pack or whatever. And be aware that when you're buying an instrument, you actually kind of do a little bit of if there's a case, you're aware of it, or if there's a gig bag, how it's done. And I think one of the things that I did in one, oh right, this is what I'm doing in the Starlo one. Not that I need to show you, but again, I want to have a conversation with you, the buyer, that puts you at ease, such that when you're in there. And hello, there we go. Shipping will be shipped in a Sweetwater box, so it will show up as sent. So, it's basically saying, hey, I'm going to drop this gig bag into, a Sweetwater box. And everybody's had a Sweetwater box where the thing, there's something, well, not everybody, but everybody here has probably had a Sweetwater box with some guitar that came in a gig bag where you pack it in there. I have a guitar that arrived for review from Fender that was in kind of one of their new fancier gig bags. And they've got these new type of inserts, and it's very clever that you can put them kind of around, not only across the top, two of them come together across the top of the box, but then one of them on each side can come inside, so they kind of grab the gig bag from inside the case. So they go this way and they can go this way to kind of make it such that the gig bag doesn't move around in there. And then, there's some shock absorbance. So it's a really smart way to be able to ship these things, because what you don't want to have happen is, again, that headstock hits some sort of hard surface, and that the energy of that basically break your headstock, right? That is a giant drag. Mike, UPS store technique is usually excellent. Plus, if they pack, they're responsible for the damage. Problem cost, UPS has raised shipping and packing costs. So here, first of all, and I've had really good luck at the local FedEx store. And this is one of the other things about a local store is if you go there often enough, and that's not to slight UPS. I've had really good luck. I'm a known entity at both the local UPS and FedEx, and those are really good people to make friends with, especially if you show up at 1 minute before 5 or something like that. But the other thing is that, and that they know that you're a known entity there. First of all, with FedEx, we have a guy that we've become particularly friendly with. It's kind of funny when we first met him, he was kind of surly, but we kind of won him over, and he's actually really lovely. And we have this very fun relationship where we come in, and there are times that we have them pack stuff simply because that's how it needs to be done, and that there's an advantage. Then there's the whole insurance thing. And this kind of one of the things I like about Reverb is they generally have figured out kind of, if you're going to pack it on your own, how to price it such that you're not kind of scratching your head. And I like that. But if you need to have something professionally packed, what's great is the local UPS and local FedEx stores do a really great job of packing it. And, I flippin' hate packing gear. Just hate it. I just hate it. But it's nice, but it does cost a little bit of money. I tipped them. That's really cool. Mike saying I tipped them. That's actually a really good idea. Hey, note to Mel. Let's get some Christmas treats for those folks. That's a really good idea. Here's the other thing, is that there is a tall Ampé cabinet that I bought from Guitar Center, as long as we're just totally digressing into this thing. And by the way, buying cabinets from Guitar Center, this is my second one. I got a really, really good deal on it. And Guitar Center basically ships the cabinets. They lose money on the shipping in a serious way. It's Guitar Center. They don't always do the smartest stuff. But it basically got shipped on a pallet. The thing, hang on. Wait. So I am a photo documentation fanatic. So let's see if I can do this. Give me a moment. Gear, Ampeg. That's nuts. All right, unpacking. Here we go. All right, here we go. There we go. All right. So here we go, and boom. Let's go to preview. There we go. All right, so, like there it is. First of all, sometimes you do have to cobble a box together, right? But it came on this flipping pallet, and it's saran wrapped, whatever the heck you call that stuff. So there, this thing is coming out of there, and there the behemoth is. This thing is flipping huge. But the Guitar Center folks kind of did their best to make sure that, first of all, it was totally encapsulated in box, which it was. They used the wrap there, which is great. Came on the pallet. I paid $40. It must have cost them $150 or $200 for that shipping. So I was really happy about the deal. I also got a Randall cabinet. And this is the deal, is when you're buying gear from Guitar Center, like cabinets, sometimes it's a little hit and miss. You will pay for the shipping, but the shipping is really, really, really cheap on the cabinets. But the point being is when this guy came and dropped this thing off, I tipped him, right? And he may never see me again, but if he comes to see me again, and the next time he potentially comes to see me again, he'll remember that I took care of him. And guess what? The next time he comes to drop off, more importantly, load a piece of gear that goes out to Rinda, oh, that's that Doug guy. He's going to actually probably load it with care because he remembers that guy, because I was probably the only person that even thought to tip him that day, which means that, it's just kind of like, I actually know that you're out there busting your hump to actually get this to me. I want you to know that it matters to me, and I want to treat you like a human being as opposed to somebody who's just grunting the gear into my driveway. It's just like, it goes a long way. So, Mike, I am absolutely with you. All right, what else do we got here? Oh, hold on a second. More stuff. Hey, my apologies. I missed a bunch of, hang on a second. I missed a bunch of stuff. Hey, Jim, what's going on, my man? Listening in my vehicle, I love it. All right, sorry, it didn't scroll. What a moron. Okay. Melissa Doppler, I would suggest opening the envelope first. Absolutely correct. Said envelope. I am going to open it up first, and hopefully it's fine. But I kind of, after the last thing. Okay, hang on a second. Scrolling back up. Duct tape the case. What a moron. Wait, hold on. What did Andy? Hold on a second. Gosh darn it. All right, hang on a second. It was scrolling and then it wasn't. So my apologies. Let me catch back up. All right. Yeah, again, to recap, Robert had this great question. How do you find somebody's shop? Basically, what we discovered is you kind of have to follow a store in your feed, but there doesn't seem to be an easy way to do that. The obvious thing to do would be to bookmark them in your browser, but that's still kind of ghetto. Oh, interesting. Feedback from... So I got to tell you, here's the thing. The wife has great... okay, hold on. The gig bag's an interesting idea for the thumbnail, but maybe people would prefer seeing the whole body of the guitar. What do you think? So Melissa always has a great take on stuff. One of the things that I want to do, and I'm trying to get in the mind of the potential buyer. So what she was talking about was this right here as my lead photo. And I kind of went back and forth because normally that would be my lead photo, and it was intended to be my lead photo. But I kind of went, you know what? It's a little different. I'm just going to go for it. And the reason I did was these Starlas have been out for a decade, right? You know, they're older guitars. I want you to see the gig bag and go, because you can tell from the gig bag, is like, this thing is in pristine condition, and you can tell the guitar is black, and you see the perspective of the Bigsby, and you're kind of like, if you're looking for that, you're going to know exactly what it is. And there's less of the black ones, and I think that's part of the reason that's going to sell faster. But that's normally I would not include the gig bag in the photo. You're totally right, Melissa. The input profiles were a game changer. That word though is I have a ton of different guitars and pickup profiles. What do you mean by that, Alan? Oh, right. So thank you. And that was the other thing is I wanted to be different enough, but say something intelligent. I'm trying to say something to the end user. Oh, all right. Well, thank you. Hold on. Hold on. Alan, I'm going to let you teach this next time. Here we go. So up here on the right-hand side, you've got a Shops tab. And then you search for Doppler's Gear Garage. By the way, well, no, you got to spell it right. Garaga. Doppler's Gear Garaga. There we go. Okay. Thank you very much for that, Alan. I should have known. Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, good. No, that's great. That's a huge help. Good. Yep. Thanks, Mel. Always a pleasure to have you on the thread. So some people really like that, and some people it drives them nuts. And I could totally see how that could drive you nuts. So the short version, let me go grab that guitar again. Where this comes from, it's actually kind of a funny story. So Steve Vai, back in the day, would just put the ball end kind of down around there. It's for a couple of reasons. First of all, not that you, whoever you might be, have ever poked your finger on one of those, because you would know how incredibly painful that is. I just started doing this because I kind of liked the way it looked. It's kind of like, it was kind of a take on the hair when the hair was long, and I don't know, it was just a thing. But I like that. But I could actually see how that could be like irritating. And so that's noted. Alan, I love you dearly, my friend. Okay, Chris, having to go. That's where. All right, good. Okay, so that's a really good. What about taking photos in nature? That's so funny you said. Well, first of all, I think it is a great idea when it's done well. Let me see if I can find. That's so funny. Let me see if I can find it when it. This is this one particular listing. I've got to find. Hang on a second. I've got to show this to you. It's so funny that you mentioned this, because I thought, what is this person thinking? So hang on a second. This is to that point. I actually think it's a great idea. First of all. One of the things, okay, there's two sides to this. I am when I know I'm traveling in the Los Angeles or San Diego area, I will search the Craigslist for those areas respectively, because as I kind of make a trek through there, Los Angeles, New York, and Nashville are places where people move for their dream and ultimately end up having to sell gear to pay their rent, or they're just selling gear. But more often than not, people they didn't become a rock star in the first 6 months, and they start to have to get rid of gear. As an end result, that is part of why there is a gear glut in those cities. And so, and honestly, the other reality is there are folks that move to those areas thinking that maybe they've got a better chance than they actually did. I don't know how else to say it. And the point being is they kind of they're not able to make it. It's hard enough for people that are, Nashville is filled with some of the best musicians in the world, and there's only so many seats at the table. So it's, sometimes it's not even about the talent. Sometimes it's about crazy luck. It's just all this crazy stuff that factors into the midst of all of this. So here's the thing is while I'm looking for this photo of this guy's shot in the backyard, the environment in which you shoot your gear, if you'd seen this, the set already looks like a little bit of mayhem. You should have seen it 10 minutes before I started streaming. The environment in which you shoot your gear is important. And I want to find this backyard shot. But, if the floor is dirty, or it's some messy thing, it basically means the guy or gal are like, you're kind of a pig. Nobody wants to buy gear from somebody that doesn't care to keep their environment clean, because the gear is part of the environment, which means it's dusty, it's moldy, it's bad. All the things you don't want with gear. The other thing is you want to be able to take a photo of that piece of gear where there's nothing in the background that is conflicting with it, that is is a problem. That said, and that's again where including the original box. What? Hold on a second. That's not right. Hold on a second. Let's try that one last time here. So the short version is this guy shot this photo of a piece of gear on his back hill that's covered with weeds. I mean, it's just like, I'm just kind of like, what could you possibly have been thinking? Wait a second, how is it there's only 600 listings on Craigslist here? That's just strange. Now, actually, okay, I tell you what, I'm gonna do something here. Let's move this over to my primary browser, and I am gonna walk through kind of my take on photos. And again, you guys are a smart bunch. Hang on, let me just make sure that there's not some slightly more intelligent question here before I go fully down this rabbit trail. Okay, okay, so Robert, there you go. So let me, there we go. That is a really good question. So getting back, and I'm gonna go through some of these photos here and talk about what I like and what I don't like, just as some inspiration. There are a couple of sides of this thing. In San Diego, there is a thing where people kind of like to show off how nice their house is. And there are enough people in Craigslist that have you come to their actual house. It's an inherently bad idea to show how affluent you are in a photo next to your swimming pool with a view of the Pacific Ocean selling a piece of gear. I don't care whether you've got an alarm or not. There's enough wackos following people home in California these days. And for those of us that live in California, but Robert, you're in the Bay Area here. It's flipping nuts. I don't have anybody come near my house. We have dogs. We have a gate. We have an alarm. We have video, and we may or may not have a gun or two. The point being is, like, I don't want anybody coming near my house. No. So, like, having, it's just... So, that said, inside your yard next to some nice flowers, there was a period of time I was doing that for I was doing that on Instagram because I think it's a really nice way to present a piece of gear. It's organic. All right, let me jump into my main window here, and I'm going to go through some things that I think are good, bad, and in between. There we go. All right, first of all, this is great. It gives you an idea of the physical perspective of that puppy. Let's see, I'm in the frame here. Yeah, I'm in the lower right. Okay, great. Let's get back. Never use a stock photo. Seriously, dude, like, what are you thinking? It's just like, all right, seriously? Like, I think I just need some drum hardware. I think this person must be a drummer. I just don't quite know what this person could possibly be thinking. It's just like, I don't know. I mean, and then this one's they got the cable around their wrist. I just don't quite know what they could possibly be thinking. This is kind of my point about, like, there's just all this noise in the background. It's cute that it's on your bench, but, like, no. It is always nice to, okay, this is interesting. So they've used this photo here with a little shallow depth of field so you can see which model it is. A little bit hard. I would have probably gone with that as the gatefold image, but you know what? I can see that. And then there's this. Just like, I realize you're kind of shooting landscape, but like, it would be nice to not have to crane my head to actually read the titles. It's like, let's think about it. All right, so this is kind of what I was looking for a little bit. Short of the bridge, one of the nice things that you're able to get in daylight is some nice natural light. But in this instance, I think the background was a little busy. Now, if I'm a drummer, all right, it's a little tiny bit out of focus, but this is a serious drummer. I'm like, okay, this is a serious space. There's a green screen. This person's serious about what they're doing. Look at the condition of that old Rogers kit. I'm like, okay, this is somebody I want to buy from. Again, to me, this instantly tells me a lot about the person I'm interacting with. Like, holy cow, how about some contrast? Like, just like, it's not hard. I bet this person's Instagram looks way better than this thing they're trying to use to sell their photos with. Come on, people. We can do better. Hey, Jim, does that look familiar? So now now again, as long as we're here, what's interesting, this isn't, there's another one that's a jazz master that they had a mastery bridge on. So, the point being is that as you're kind of thinking about these things, just thinking about what does it take for my photo to stand out and, be, is that a doggy door or a child thing, or a little bit of both? It's just a very strange place to shoot an instrument and not particularly great light. So we want to put our instruments in the best light. And I'm about done trolling through here. I was really hoping to see this guy's weedy hill, but you get the point. It's a thing. All right. Back over here to reality. Okay. So yes, I think it's a great idea when you can find an environment that's not conflicting but actually enhances it. Kind of warms things up. The other thing is you're not showing somebody the inside of your house. If it's your backyard, you can show them some of the backyard, but not too much. Again, this whole thing, the San Diego thing, it can be a slightly snooty area. And I think it's kind of like, oh, look at me. And it's just like, yeah, no, actually don't look at me. I don't want you over here in the middle of the night with a gun taking my stuff. Bad idea. Again, I can pull this in on this one. Okay, so we talked a little bit about the shipping damage thing. I think it's a matter, and again, we want to give people the opportunity, as much as this sort of, it's bent when it arrives to me. It's just like, seriously, knowing how people handle stuff and knowing how much of how busy people are and, how overloaded people are, sending something in just with a little piece of cardboard. Do you seriously expect in your right mind that this is going to come unmolested? It's just like, they just didn't care. It pisses people off. And if you ship something like in a way that, you just don't care, people are going to go, oh, you don't give a rat's ass about me. You just wanted to do the transaction. And I get it. The world's like that. But it's not a great way. When something goes wrong, it automatically puts people on the wrong foot. So I will open that up. I will see if it's molested or not. My guess is that it got trashed, but I'd love to be wrong. But when I interact with the person, I'm going to be nice about it and say, hey, it got bent in shipping. If that happened, what can we do about this? Honestly, I think I want to send this back to you because it's not the simple way, Tom, to answer your question is it did not arrive in the condition it was listed. Done. You have Reverb on your side at that point. That, and when it's even with an as is listing, and that's one of the reasons I test like that Super Reverb. Every pot I tested it. Foot switches I tested them. Both inputs on both channels tested them. Made sure everything worked because I don't want want you to get some amp that I said it's amazing to get it and go, you're a liar. It's my due diligence to make sure that when you get it, you're like, this guy cared, right? Because guess what? I've got a guy. I didn't end up buying his guitar because he sold it before I could buy it and I could get it approved, that red Firebird. In any case. But he was on my stream the next week. Say, hey, I caught your stream. I'm like, these are people that come into my world and we become gear buddies, right? So you don't want to have a douchebag experience with somebody that go like, is on here and they can just be chatting. Yeah, that dude ripped me off on Reverb. It's like, you really want that kind of in your world? No. We want good vibes out there. All right. So yeah, it says it's not in the condition it was listed, and this gets me to the thing I was talking about with the Randall stuff. When you're buying out of emotion, and there's very little of it on the marketplace like that Ibanez Explorer, I had to go, am I going to keep it and just kind of suck it up? And the answer is yes. It's one of my favorite guitars. When I need to do the Eddie thing, it sounds like Van Halen 1 because it sounds like Van Halen 1. It's basically the guitar that Eddie used on, give or take, 50% of the tracks on that record. Like everybody thinks it's the Frankenstrat, which is on there a bunch. But watch those early Van Halen videos. Okay, fine. Van Halen 1 videos. Oh, there we go. All right, so I rest my case. Hang on a second. And right here, so I search Van Halen 1 videos, and there's the Ibanez Destroyer, right? Track 1 of the record. There it is, right? So, it's just like it's a part of that sound. So, it's so, and I'm glad I kept the guitar. I had my guitar tech look at it, but that was a decision I chose to just do it. And again, there I can pull this in. Mike, you're absolutely correct. Knowing how it's going to be shipped, shame on me, right? Like, how's it going to be packed? But I just figured that, if you're in the business of sending this stuff out, you should know how to pack it. Doppelganger Garage, thank you very much. Andy Guitar, my dear friend. Oh, right. So, yeah, so here's the thing. I will not buy from somebody who excessively marks up the shipping costs. I'm just like, why? And so, Alan, I couldn't agree with you more. The real reason for me, I'll just tell you my why. I'm like, you're a ripoff artist. You're just shystering me for loading some box with gear. What else are you going to shyster me about? Yeah, it's because of death. Brad, sorry it took me a minute to get to this. Love the show. Thanks for hearing our Legend Killer playing. I've learned a lot on this last week's show. Oh, awesome. Thank you, Brad. Really, really, really appreciate it. Because here's the thing, is you kind of never know. But thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I hope you're still here. That may have come in before I found that this guy wasn't scrolling. I will learn how to use this software one day. What is the determiner for what you choose to sell? How do you decide what stays and what goes? That's a great question. If I could, I would sell very little because there's. Let's get to let's shelve that. How do I decide what I'm going to sell? There is a bunch of stuff that I just plain don't use. I probably won't use. It's time for it to go. That Super Reverb, I'm just like, I've got the Tone Master here. I'm just like, no tubes, a third of the weight. I can't tell the difference between them sonically. It's time for the 65 reissue to go. And just like pretty much as soon as I plugged in the Tone Master, I'm like, the other one's going. I just knew it. So that's one of the things when you're just kind of going, okay, you've been replaced. I have an SG Faded that I bought at Guitar Store, and I got it for like $600 with a case. So that's one of the other instruments that, per an agreement with Melissa, is on its way out the door. I kind of have mixed emotions about it. Actually, I've had some really good demo experiences with it, But, I'm friends with the Solo Dallas guys, and, basically Phil, the main Solo Dallas guys, he kind of just like, you make that guitar sound really good, but, that's not a great guitar. And, he was, and so it's a funny thing because that particular guitar, and I try not to be, and again, this is true of any of us, right? If Epiphone put a traditional Les Paul headstock on their guitars, they would sell twice as many. But they also know that they would be cutting into Gibson business, so they put a different headstock on there. That's kind of why their Explorer and their flying V headstocks are so appealing to me. I know they say Epiphone, but I'm kind of excited about getting, and I'm excited about an Explorer. I have the Ibanez Destroyer, which is it's basically the same guitar, but I kind of like, I'm excited. I have an Ibanez version of the Firebird, but it's not set neck. And the funny thing is, if you go on to Sweetwater and look at the Epiphone neck through Firebird, they're like $600. They get 2 in and they sell in the hour. They cannot keep them up. I'm kind of curious to check that out, right? So the point being is that making room for something that you want. Sometimes there's only so much. Well, here's the other thing. One is that you end up with too many guitar cases. There's only so much space. So two, then you kind of go, what of this am I really playing? And sometimes, our interests change over time. I'm spending less time playing guitars like this, but still need to keep my chops up. Ooh, I have a lesson that starts in 3 minutes. But I'm more into this classic rock thing. So it's time for some of the pointy guitars to make their way out the door. Melissa, whatever you said there, I'm sure is great. The duct tape guy, good. Again, Andy, Doppler's Gear Garage, and you should be able to find it. Brad, what's going on, my man? Ooh. Wow. Holy cow, the subtext there. Buyers are liars. I love it. Oh, my word. Really? They said the replacement's the same way. Oh, my word. Moronidry. All right. Hey, Brad, good to see you again. All right. Bad business always bites you in the butt. Dude, it just it comes back. Never understand the people who think that's a winning side. And that's the other thing is that when you're listing this thing, you can basically, that trust factor, there are a bunch of things, the clean photos, the hey, this is how it's being shipped, this is what it is. You're kind of going, I know the things that you want to be knowing. I'm building trust, and I'm trying to demonstrate that. All right, good. Boxing up guitar phone holders I make and sell. Oh, cool. Guitar phone holders. So does that say they're the things that smart people put on their phone that have like a guitar on them? Send me an email. Joey, what's going on? Tell me about it. I love it. I love it. I love it. If it's And that's so Joey. I couldn't agree with you. I'm taping the bottom. I'm taping the top. I am a packing lunatic. It's one of the reasons I actually hate packing. But no, that's the whole thing. And that's the thing is here we go. Hang on, stay there for a second. The idea is I am cleaning it. Because I want somebody to know when they see it listed that I cared enough that when they get it, it's going to be something they're going to love. That's the other thing is music is a dream to people. The good, we have all these amazing feelings about this. It's super important. Andy, I always pack my stuff that can fall off a plane and still survive. Thank you very much. Absolutely. We want the buyer to have a great experience. All right. Good. Yeah, there we go. Joey asking for a link. There we go. Hello, Sean. Great to see you. All right. If I encounter a butthole buyer, either buying or selling, deals off, tell me about it. I generally care about my customer. Thank you. I check in after sale. Do I do that? No, I should. That is really smart to check in after the sale. And it's a great way to treat people. That's great. Awesome. PTM guitars. Awesome. Okay, great. Good. Oh, okay. Guitar business card holder. I can actually read. You're welcome. Okay, good. All right, good. All right, so this is another thing, and I'm now 1 minute into my lesson, so I'm going to have to go in a second, but I wanted to make sure I hit everybody back. Thank you. Good, 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 good. And thank you. Yes. That I love the video. So I thought about doing the video on the Super Reverb, but I'm anal retentive enough that I'm kind of like have a tendency to just spend too much time doing it. But it is a really, 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 really. Where did the video thing go? It was there. Okay, the point being is that it's actually a great idea to do some video as well. The only thing I will say is we're in a generation where if we're going to video it, we want it to be in good light, and we want it to either sound and or look as we would want it to. All right, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, I'm seeing some new faces. Not that I don't. Here's the thing. This is like, I was saying to myself last night, I have the greatest group of people that I get a chance to hang out with on Saturday. And I'm so, look at the, I'm easily, I'm a relatively animated person, and I'm easy to kind of, happy is a state that I generally live in. But this show makes me happy every week. And it's such a pleasure to hang out with you. And there are the regulars that are near and dear to my heart. And then there are kind of the new faces that I see showing up. I just want to say thanks. I've got to go torment a guitar student, but it is a pleasure to hang out with you. It is a thrill. It's one of the high points of my week. And there's lots of great stuff I get a chance to do, and that's not big noting. I'm just saying I'm privileged enough to do a lot of things that I love doing, but I love hanging out with you. I didn't quite, at the end, kind of come through with what I wanted to say the way I wanted to say it. So let me just say it like this. Look you in the eyes and say, thank you so much. This means a lot to me because it means a lot to me. Have a great one. I'll see you next Saturday. Thanks again. Until then, make it a great one.